What's up, you fiends? I'm Fart Woman Deluxe, and today I'm talking about Counter-Strike and the things that I would change or adjust or suggestions I would make. And before I start the list, I'm going to list a couple things that everyone would probably agree on needs to happen in the game. So the first thing is better servers. The sub-tick and 64-tick sub-tick doesn't feel good. Everyone's kind of in agreement on it. I think it's ridiculous that pros are playing on 64-tick, and Valve just thinks it's okay. Another thing that I would suggest in terms of servers is adding more servers in more high population, densely populated areas. So if you're from the east or west coast in America, you're living practically right next to a server, and you have a significantly different experience from people living in the middle of the United States. That's where I'm from. It's what I have experience with. And if you live within this circle in the United States, you're not really close to a Steam data center. And in a game that's as ping dependent as Counter-Strike 2, being close to a server is actually a game-changing variable where the difference of 10 ping, even 15 ping, 20 ping can mean the difference of seeing somebody before they peek you and kill you, and not seeing them at all, and dying, and then seeing them come around the corner. Now another obvious one is an anti-cheat. Adding anything that works. VACnet is just... I haven't seen more than 3 specific instances of someone being banned at all, if not in a game. It's to the point where cheaters are coming out in games and being like, yeah, you can just cheat and get away with it. I don't know why y'all aren't cheating. And with the way that Valve has not responded to anything and not made any strides to actually stopping them, they really do kind of have a point. Until cheaters actually start getting punished, it'll just continue getting worse, and there'll be more and more in the games, and you'll see probably more people playing FACEIT than Premier Competitive. The third quick thing I wanted to bring up was restoring the sound clarity to the point of what it was like in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I feel like Counter-Strike Global Offensive had the best sound in any competitive game. You compare it to games like Apex or Overwatch or Call of Duty, the sound that you got in Global Offensive was the best that you could get. You could hear everything. It was fair for everybody. There was never any instances of I didn't hear anything when I should have. And in CS2, the sound quality has definitely gone downhill. There's a lot of muffled sound effects, a lot of things that are just like impossible to hear. And the final thing that I wanted to bring up quickly was just the net graph from Global Offensive. The net graph in Global Offensive gave you a lot of good information about how you're connecting to the server, what the routing is like, what your package loss is like. You can see your actual ping because the ping that's in the scoreboard wasn't correct. And in CS2, the net graph is like a graphic bar that changes colors. What is that helping? What information does that realistically give you? Now, silly, petty complaints aside, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, the real big petty complaints. So for number one, the thing that I would want to change about Counter-Strike 2 is the name. What about Counter-Strike 2 is 2? Counter-Strike 2 is technically the 4th Counter-Strike multiplayer game to come out, and it's the 5th if you count Condition Zero. So I came up with a couple options for alternate names for Counter-Strike 2, like Counter-Strike 4, if you count all 4 of the major versions of multiplayer Counter-Strike games, or Counter-Strike 3 if you count the ones that Valve had a hand in. You could even consider Counter-Strike 5 if you count Condition Zero. Literally all of these numbers make more logical sense than 2, because Counter-Strike 2 is just, it's not the second Counter-Strike. The only way you could get away with putting a 2 in the name is if you called it Counter-Strike Source 2, because it was the Source 2 upgrade, and we already had Counter-Strike Source, which was the Source update from the original Counter-Strike. You can do the cool new hip thing that companies are doing, where you're ditching all the numbers for sequels and just calling the game Counter-Strike and treating it as a reboot. Number 2 on my list here is access to community game modes, workshop maps, movement game modes. One of the things that Counter-Strike really found a niche in is community game modes, stuff like Manhunt, Prison Escape, Zombie game mode, Faction game modes, and game modes like Surf, KZ, B-hopping. With Counter-Strike 2, the only thing that's really featured in the game on full release, and I say that in quotes because I don't feel the game is fully finished, the game only focuses on the esports side of the game, which I recognize is the most popular thing. It's what gets all the viewers, it's what gets all the skin sponsors.
Skin sponsors. Oh yeah.
Besides that, they also gutted the community server browser, because in CSGO, you can go onto the browser and there's all of the game modes that I mentioned before, but you look at the bare bones server browser that is offered with CS2, the only thing that you can find is deathmatch servers. There's no external maps, there's no workshop things going on, there's no fun game modes. It's literally just deathmatch. The third thing I have here on my list is UI customization and character model customization, because in CSGO and other versions of Counter-Strike, you could put the gun on your left side. The original betas of the first Counter-Strike mod, the guns came on the left side by default, but in CS2, they hard-locked your gun to being on the right side, and they took away a lot of the features that you had in Global Offensive to help customize your character model. You'll hear a lot of people experienced in Counter-Strike Global Offensive really crying about the Bob feature being taken out, because moving around and shooting, having the Bob on the default settings just feels incorrect after having the customization abilities in Global Offensive. Another point I want to make along these lines is being able to toggle off cosmetics of other players, whether you're looking at them with your character or you're spectating them when you're dead. I'd like the option to just not be able to see people's bad monetary decisions, because when I'm playing in a very low elo competitive ranked match and I know these people have less than 250 hours in the game with inventories upwards of $1,500, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know how these people have fucked up and put money into a game that costs $15. When I get on Counter-Strike, I'm not getting on to look at somebody's pixels or sit and wonder at, oh man, how do you have this $9,000 knife when you're playing in low Nova? I play Counter-Strike because the gameplay itself is exhilarating, and I think if the game and the developers really just focused on making the gameplay as good as it could be, instead of just being a pixel simulator, I think the game would be in a lot better place. And being able to turn on and off customization stuff like character skins and weapon skins, I think that would let a lot more people focus on the gameplay itself. Speaking of focusing on gameplay, number 4 on my list is having more game modes that are tailored for brand new players, because it's a new game and there's always going to be new players trying out Counter-Strike for the first time. And if you've played Counter-Strike for more than 15 minutes, you know there's a very, very low skill floor. Like if you're not good, it very much shows up in your gameplay. And there are many ways that being bad at the game can manifest, a lot of different facets that it can affect. So my suggestion here is adding a preliminary ladder that you have to rank out of playing against other brand new players before you get placed into the normal matches with people who've played the game for more than 150 hours. A couple years ago, I don't remember the specific date, but Valve added levels to the game, and with that they added a level requirement to play ranked. I believe it was like level 20. It's the same levels that we have in the game now, but there was a hard limit on being a new player and trying to join a competitive ranked match. But at some point they changed it down to like level 2, and with Counter-Strike 2, I don't even think there is a level requirement. I think you download the game, you can click on Premiere, you can click on competitive and just join someone's game. You could ruin a game by just having no idea what's going on, never having played a tactical shooter before. See, like someone like me, I have 5,000 hours in Counter-Strike, and I can click on rank, I can join a match and have somebody who's playing their first match of Counter-Strike in their entire life. And I think in a ranked game mode, there should be like a hard limit on brand new players playing with people who've played the game for 10 years. Like, it's not fair for them to play against people who would be in my match naturally. In Global Offensive, I made it all the way up to Global Elite, and I was playing Global Elite, and a new player playing against Global Elites is going to be a bad time, and it's unfair for the people who have to sit there and babysit people who've never played a PC shooter game. And I just believe that for new players, there needs to be like a controlled environment where they can be taught how grenades work and how moving works and how to shoot and how to not ruin your entire team's economy because you want to buy Deagle armor literally every round. I think there should be a game mode that limits how you play with the economy, that reflects the way the economy works in the regular meta. I understand there are a lot of guides and YouTube channels and coaches that you can find online, but I feel like the game should just have the resources to teach people how to play the game at a competent level without spending 10 hours watching guides and YouTube videos like this one. And finally, for this point, also just like an unranked game mode, they launched the game with 3 ranked game modes: deathmatch and casual. Like, there's no unranked version of the normal game mode. Number 5 on the list kind of follows the same trail that we're going down with practice tools. I feel like the practice nades tool that the game launched with, it's cool. It's something that was necessary. I think it could just be expanded a little bit more. Currently, you can't launch a practice offline and throw nades server with someone else in your lobby. If you want to practice nades with somebody in a server with cheats and everything like that, you usually need to host your own server or rent a server to go and do all of these things. I think Counter-Strike can just house the practice tools itself without having to go to external third-party things like trying to buy a server from Faceit or having a separate dedicated host computer just so you can practice a timing with a friend that you can just do if Valve let you throw nades in a server with your friend with cheats on. Number 6 here on the list has to do with game preservation. I'm a person who likes knowing that a game that came out at any point during time is still playable. It's the only art medium where you can really just lose stuff. And again, for number 6, we're talking about the legacy client for CSGO. Whenever you launch CSGO through the beta options in CS2, you're hit with a screen that says this is a legacy version of CSGO. Support for it will end in January 1st, 2024. And at the time of recording, it is the end of October. So there's very little time before they just outright get rid of Global Offensive. And what I would want for them to do is to like completely separate the legacy version of Global Offensive and CS2, where the servers and stuff, community servers that is, for Global Offensive can still exist. All of the workshop maps that already work on Global Offensive that were designed for Global Offensive are still there, still functional. And with the legacy version, you could separate the time that you played in Global Offensive and CS2, because right now it just shows in CS2 the hours that you had previously from Global Offensive. So it says for me, in a game that's been out for a month at this point, I have 5,000 hours. It doesn't make sense. And on another preservation side note, like, there's a lot of achievements in Global Offensive that are just gone now. There were upwards of, I think, 180 achievements from Global Offensive. I was close to like 95% of them. The ones that I couldn't get were the ones that I just actually could not get because the game changed so much that the achievements were not technically possible. But now in CS2, it shows one achievement, and that's just for launching the game. Alright, now number 7 here on the list has a little bit to do with number 4 and number 5, and it's a report or vote option for your teammates to vote for somebody to get banned from using grenade. Now what this would do is it would stop trolls just in their place from doing a lot of harm to your team in terms of just like mauling off a spot where you're trying to push, or throwing nades at your teammates, or throwing flashes in front of you on purpose. It would really limit these people from doing a lot of really stupid stuff that the game kind of just gives them. And this would also limit a lot of really bad players. This is what it's more for, honestly. It would limit bad players from basically doing all of the same things but not even understanding that they're doing something wrong. And this is kind of how it ties in with 3 and 4, because like if there are a lot more reasons for you to know nades and a lot less of a reason for you to have no idea what you're doing with the grenades, it just creates a lot better situation for better games and healthier games where people are doing what is actually expected of them. Now for number 8, this is really my old man yelling at the sky point, but I want the skin market to just like not exist. I want Valve to do something on purpose or not on purpose, either way, to really knock off a lot of the value of the skins, because I feel like a lot of the negative side effects of the Counter-Strike community, like the gambling addiction and the anger issues, comes from skins just having such actual monetary value, whether it's unstable or not. I really feel as if the skin market has taken so much of the attention away on Valve's part, away from the gameplay of Counter-Strike. And again, I understand that's really where all the money comes from on Valve's part, is through microtransactions, case sales, the Steam tax that comes on the market whenever you sell stuff through Steam. And a lot of the issues culturally and community-wise comes from like a lot of the gambling websites. And I think that Valve really does want to to corral some of it. That's why they're trying to take control of a lot of the ranked ladders for competitive, like pro play. And if they take control of pro play, that means they're controlling the tournaments. And that means tournaments that would have otherwise been an independent tournament organizer getting sponsors from outside sources. A lot of those sponsors are skin trading, skin gambling websites. Those are a lot of the time major sponsors for all of these tournaments. And I don't think Valve really likes whenever the biggest tournaments of the year come around, they're also shilling Skins Monkey or Skin Baron or Pizza 24 or whatever the hell else kind of websites there are out there. There are so many. Skins Wild, whatever. CSGO Lounge. I think they want to do something about it, and this would be the way to kind of do it. And it's to just kill the Steam economy, kill the skins economy. Like, I understand that it is like literally billions of dollars getting moved around every year, but like it's illegal gambling with a 1-inch high wall that's trying to stop people under the age of 18 from gambling. But I don't know anyone who gambled on Counter-Strike who did it after they turned 18. All of it happened before everybody turned 18. And I really think Valve could do something about it by just really ruining the skin market. And then after that, they'd have no other choice but to just focus on the gameplay and make people want to play the game instead of people just turning on their game to look at their pixels that they spent way too much money on. All right, that's all I got for you today. Went on a little bit more long-winded than I meant to, but I got a lot to say about this game. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite games, I think, in general. I have a lot of time in it, and I have a lot of thoughts about the new version coming out and missing a lot of content. So if you enjoyed watching the video today, leave a like, leave a comment, suggest some things yourselves that you would add into the game. Criticize me for some of my points. I know I'm making some points that other people would really dislike. Tell me I'm an idiot for wanting skins to not be a thing. I'm all ears, technically. And if you leave hate comments, it's really just seeding the algorithm with more interactions, and that gives me more YouTube money, baby. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see y'all in the next video.